Hey, you came by today. Thank you so much. I was just thinking about you. Hope you're doing well. I found a super cool artist. Well, I shouldn't say I found him. I heard of a super cool artist that I just love his story and I love his art. His name is Blake Angeconeb. I think I pronounced that right. Angeconeb. He is from Northern Ontario in Canada, and he's a First Nations artist. And his work it's actually really inspiring. What he's doing is, I haven't seen anyone really do this before. He's taking traditional First Nations or Indigenous art, and he's blending it with pop culture and making it more contemporary. And I think it's phenomenal. Even more so when I found out that the guy had no art experience. He's like early 30s, and he didn't start painting until he was in, I believe, his mid 20s, if you can imagine. It actually kind of blows me away. Imagine if he hadn't found art. What he said in the few interviews that I've watched that he's been in is really compelling, because it matches what I've been saying in this channel, is that for him, he sees art and painting as medicine. And what he found is what many of us find, is that in doing it, there's some magic that happens, and there's some kind of inner alchemy that transforms you and heals you, and that's pretty amazing. What's even more compelling about him is, in one of the interviews, he said that when he started painting, he nearly stopped because people were kind of complaining about him mixing pop culture and traditional First Nations art. The style of art that he does, I think it's called woodlands art, is what he calls it. And by the way, if you get to the end of the video, I'll post the spelling of his name, and in the descriptions, I'll put a little bit more about him down there and how you can find him yourself. If you can imagine, if all of us listened to the haters, and if all of us listened to our inner critics, and if all of us listen to all of the foolishness that rolls around in our lives, and often between our own ears, none of us would get anything done. And, this really great young artist wouldn't have had any of the interest that, he's getting. And I think the same thing goes for all of us. If we're honest with ourselves, there are many times in our lives where we have thought to ourselves, maybe in a prolonged way even, why bother? Whether it is with our art or other aspects of our life. And like I've said before, the reality is our lives are, actually pretty short. What if we're really lucky, we get 100 and maybe 120 years on this planet at most. I think that's probably about the oldest person that we know, and that's not really that long. When we look at how many billions of years this planet's been here, and just the huge scope of time that has passed just on this planet alone, and all of the humans that have come and gone. So the time we have and the things we do, it actually matters. It matters a lot. And if you think that the things that you do, it doesn't make any difference, well, I don't think that's very true. I think everything we do affects the whole. Everything, because we're part of the whole. And everything that we create does something. You know, when we make a difference in our own lives, it makes a difference that reaches out past us. Even more when we choose, if that's the right word, because I don't know if we choose to be creative. I think most of us that are creative, it's just a natural expression. But for those of us that choose to be creative and, you know, put it out there, it causes ripples. And those ripples change things. And they change lives and they change people. And I can definitely say that, you know, I have been very impressed what I have gathered from this very cool artist. What it makes me think about is something in Zen that we do right from the very beginning when we sit, and that is to sit tall. You want to sit on your cushion like there's a string attached to the top of your head, pulling your spine up. And what I've found in this life is that really we need to learn to sit tall all the time. We need to learn to sit tall in not just our posture, although it's very important. Actually, what I would suggest is throughout your day, remind yourself, maybe just ask yourself, am I sitting tall? You know, and look at your posture. Start there. Start physically. And check in. Are your shoulders back? Are you slouching? Are you, you know, how are you walking down the street? How are you sitting right now? How are you standing? Or are you even getting up and moving around? And then as we do that regularly, what we find is that physical concept of sitting tall, that physical concept of checking in and making sure that I'm balanced and I'm strong. That has ripples too, you know, it spreads out. And what we find is that we learn to check in with ourselves and ask ourselves those questions, you know, am I sitting tall metaphorically? Am I being true to myself? Am I being conscious of the moment that I'm in? And am I creating things for others, or am I creating for myself? Or am I creating for the, you know, the collective we? Am I too worried about what people think of me? And these questions and this way of living, you can't tell me for a second that doesn't change your life. You know, it's funny, some people that, you know, comment over the short period of time that I've been doing this channel, you know, it makes me sad to hear about other people that have, you know, pulled you off of doing your art or told you that it wasn't good enough and things like that. Because you know what? It's nobody's business but your own. In fact, you know what? Create stuff that nobody likes. Who cares? Create stuff that you like. I think that's more important, you know? Like I've said before, I've been super impressed by some of the stuff I've seen through the people that have joined me in Instagram. You know, I mentioned recently I saw some art that a young lady did with coffee and a feather. And man, if that doesn't blow you away, you know, what else can you do? And it was beautiful. You know, it really was beautiful. So imagine what you can do with your good brain and the creative juices that flow inside of you. And you might think that you don't have them, but we all do. As human beings, maybe the one trait that we have held on to and carried with us through the time that our species has been here is that we are creative. You know, whether you look at the art in caves or, you know, the carvings that we find, like if you've seen the relief carvings that they've found at Göbekli Tepe that are something like 10,000 or 15,000 years old. You know, things come and go, but our art That tells a story about us. And there's nothing else that we know of that does that. And it'll be interesting to, as time goes on and, maybe we'll find friends out in the cosmos, and it would be neat to see what their art is. Or maybe they don't do it. Maybe this is a unique human being thing. And I just love it. I love that you hear these artists that are going their own way and realizing the importance of art for themselves and for everyone. If a young First Nations artist is saying in repeated interviews how he finds painting to be medicine, that makes people listen, and that'll inspire others. And at the end of the day, that's what matters. It doesn't matter the things you have. It doesn't matter the shininess. It doesn't matter. What matters is all of us humans helping all of us humans. If we look at our history, the times that we've been more selfish, more about me, I, those are days that aren't so great. When we do stuff that is for all of us, when we do stuff that lifts us up, when we do stuff that makes us all want to sit tall, well, that makes a difference, a huge difference. So check out Blake Angeconeb. I believe that's how you say it. And Blake, if you see this and I'm mispronouncing your name, I'm very sorry. Take it from a guy whose last name is Eek. Believe me, I've had every sort of mispronunciation on the planet. But anyways, Blake is a fantastic artist. Check him out, and I'm sure he's on, I haven't looked yet, but I'm sure he's on Instagram and all these other places, and support him, spread the word about these cool things that cool people are doing or trying to do, because we're all in this together, and we're all trying to make a better world for, the future, for the generations to come. So there you go. Are you sitting tall? You have yourself a good day.